Revealed. Discover the miraculous transformation of Sodom and Gomorrah through God's divine plan. In the 3rd year of Jehoiakim, while the sun bore down relentlessly over the arid plains of Canaan, God cast his gaze upon the twin city-states of Sodom and Gomorrah. These cities, rising proudly with their high walls and bustling marketplaces, had become synonymous with perversion and pride. The vibrant gardens of Gomorrah hid secrets of unspeakable sin, while the cries of the oppressed echoed through the bustling streets of Sodom. A thick stench of vice and immorality marked them as symbols of defiance against the Creator, and now their wickedness had reached up to heaven as evening shadows stretched over the righteous tents of Abraham. God revealed his anguished heart, speaking with a solemn urgency. The outcry against Sodom and Gomorrah is great, and their sin is very grave, he declared. The weight of impending judgment hung heavy in the air, an unbearable truth for Abraham, whose beloved nephew Lot had chosen to dwell among these sinners. Drawn by the allure of temporal prosperity, with compassion ignited within him, Abraham stood before the Lord, a humble intercessor in a moment of spiritual fervor. "Will you sweep away the righteous with the wicked?" he implored. "Suppose there are 50 righteous within the city. Will you then sweep away the place and not spare it for the 50 righteous who are in it?" The nature of divine mercy unspooled in their dialogue as God affirmed, "If I find in Sodom 50 righteous in the city, I will spare the whole place for their sake." As night unveiled its inky cloak, 2 angels were dispatched to Sodom, messengers of both mercy and impending judgment. Their celestial glow was unmistakable as Lot, with the wisdom found only in a heart tethered to Abraham, welcomed them into his home. He urged them to avoid the dangers lurking outside, but little did he know the darkness that was gathering. The moment was dreadfully tense as the men of Sodom circled Lot's house, demanding to know these visitors, willing to inflict violence upon the innocent. In an agonizing moment, Lot faced a horrid choice, a conflict of faith and despair. "Here, take my daughters instead," he begged, wanting to safeguard the divine guests whose presence represented a glimmer of hope amidst the doom. The door rattled madly as the tumult besieged them, but, with divine authority, protection enveloped the house, shielding Lot and his family from the clutches of judgment that encircled them. "Escape for your life. Do not look back or stop anywhere in the valley," the angels commanded as the dawn approached, urgency igniting their spirits. The city trembled under the weight of sin, and as the colossal anvil of judgment loomed, Lot and his family stood on the windswept precipice of decision to heed the warning or become ensnared in destruction. Before we continue with this incredible biblical account, I want to make sure you don't miss any of these powerful stories from Scripture. Hit the bell icon and select all notifications. These biblical narratives have transformed countless lives throughout history. If God's word through this story is blessing you, please like and share it with someone who needs to hear about God's faithfulness today. Tell me in the comments, which biblical story has most impacted your faith journey? I'm always amazed by how God's word speaks to hearts across generations. Now let's continue with what the Lord did next as the sun rose slowly. Its light began to illuminate the stark reality of Sodom's entrapment in sin. A heavy tension hung in the air. The future of Lot and his family was uncertain, caught in the tug of divine mercy competing against the despair of judgment. Would they flee? Would they grasp the promise of safety? Or would they fall among those who rejected God's ways? The suspense thickened, and the fate of Sodom and Gomorrah lay in the balance, calling forth a divine resolution that awaited in the shadows. As the first light of dawn struggled against the blackened remains of night, the urgency in the angels' voices pierced through the heavy stillness of Lot's home. "Get up, take your wife and your 2 daughters who are here, lest you be swept away in the punishment of the city." The gravity of their words was underscored by the chaos that swirled outside, where the unspeakable sins had built a wall of wickedness. Lot, heart pounding and spirit troubled, hesitated, fear and disbelief grappling with the urgency of the moment. He looked toward the faces of his daughters and then at his wife, whose expression mirrored his own struggle, a reluctance to leave all that they knew behind. Yet the angels, sensing the peril of their delay, grasped Lot by the hand and pulled him and his family out of the impending doom. "Do not look back," they warned, as the desperate need for escape engulfed them. They fled toward the distant mountains, a stark contrast to the looming shadows of their former lives. "Let us go to Zoar," Lot implored, "for I cannot escape to the mountains, lest disaster overtake me and I die." Relenting, the angels granted his request. "See, we have given you this favor also, that we will not overthrow the city of which you have spoken." As they approached the small city of Zoar, the horizon darkened ominously. The air was still, and the ground vibrated, pregnant with impending judgment. The moment of reckoning drew near. Lot and his family stood at the threshold of salvation, yet the reality of their choice weighed heavily upon them. They had escaped the clutches of sin, but would they grasp this unforeseen mercy? Behind them, the sun's rays intensified, illuminating the sky as it bore witness to God's judgment. The Lord rained down sulfur and fire upon Sodom and Gomorrah from the heavens. The cities ignited, consumed by the flames of divine wrath. The burning sulfur fell like blazing arrows. A divine purification was underway, the end for all that had persisted in wickedness. But as they fled, amid the chaos of judgment and the crackling of destruction, a dreadful sound ripped through the air, a lamentation born of sorrow and separation. Lot's wife turned back, drawn by the allure of what once was, and in that moment of longing, she became a pillar of salt and eternal testament to the fate awaiting those who cling to the past in defiance of God's commands. Lot and his daughters reached Zoar, trembling yet alive, their hearts filled with the echoes of the devastation left behind. They marveled at their deliverance, yet shadows of guilt shadowed them, for they were witnesses to a destruction that spoke of God's judgment upon sin. Then the Lord remembered Abraham and sent Lot out of the midst of the overthrow. As dawn broke over the ashes of Sodom and Gomorrah, a new dawn beckoned, igniting a flicker of hope, for through God's mercy, there remained a promise yet unfulfilled, a promise not only for those who fled but for a nation yet to rise. And so, even in the darkest hour, his sovereign plan rested in the hearts of those who would seek him. As the embers dimmed, one question remained simmering in the hearts of the faithful. What greater purposes would unfold from the ashes, and how might God's hand weave redemption from this harrowing tale? As the trembling hearts of Lot and his daughters found safety within Zoar's walls, a heavy silence blanketed the area, broken only by the distant rumble of destruction. They stood in the safety of the city momentarily, catching their breath and finding solace. Yet, even in their deliverance, shadows of sorrow lurked in their hearts as they turned to face one another. "Surely, there are no more cities like Sodom left," Lot murmured, his eyes clouded with an understanding of the price exacted for sin. His daughters clung to each other, fear trembling on their lips. "But what shall we do now?" one asked, her voice barely above a whisper. Lot, weary from the harrowing escape, gazed upon the horizon where the smoke curled heavenward, a vile tribute to the wickedness that had once thrived there. "We shall remain here in Zoar," he replied, with uncertainty painting the edges of his resolve. Yet his heart wrestled with the ever-present Abrahamic promise, the covenant that stayed woven within their heritage. During the night, as the stars flickered like unseen witnesses and the moon cast its dim glow upon the land, Lot retired to his humble dwelling, pondering not only their salvation from the flames but the fate that awaited those who had remained behind. Memories flooded his mind, images of laughter in Sodom, and the faces of friends long since lost to darkness. With each memory, his spirit sank deeper into anguish. In that lonely vigil, the Spirit of the Lord stirred, and Lot was awoken with a sense of urgency. "Lot," a voice gentle yet strong echoed in his heart, "the ashes that lie behind are not the end but the beginning. A transformation shall ensue." Awed, Lot arose and stepped outside, gazing upon the charred landscape. Just as the fire had consumed, so too would it cultivate. He could hear the whisper of hope carried on the breeze. "From these ashes, I shall bring forth a new people," the voice continued, revealing the divine plan of restoration intertwined with the promise of inheritance that Abraham held so dear. The following days in Zoar passed in a haze of uncertainty, yet Lot found new strength by meditating on the mercies of God. The daughters, too, began to understand the weight of their legacy and its potential for good. They planted seeds in the soil reclaimed from devastation, a symbol of faith in the unseen. The Lord watched over Lot and his daughters, his hand guiding their efforts as the land healed. Sturdy oaks took root where charred earth had once prevailed, and blossoms unfurled amidst what had appeared lifeless. The heart of the land began to breathe again, and the livestock prospered in the greenery that sprang forth. One day, as they worked side by side, Lot's eldest daughter turned to him with a glint of determination. "Father, shall we not speak the truth of what has happened in Sodom? We are alive, blessed to start anew." Lot nodded, the heaviness of his heart lightening. "Yes, my child. We are to be witnesses of his mercy, bearers of hope. Our story is not merely of destruction but rather of a covenant yet unbroken." As murmurs of Zor's restoration reached neighboring lands, a profound stirring arose. The people came, drawn by tales of renewed life springing forth from mourning. Lot and his daughters became messengers of God's sovereign grace, heralding the promise held through their ancestor Abraham. Through them do we find that the loss of Sodom was but a precursor to the awakening that the Lord had ordained. Yet within this awakening, a new question arose, echoing through Lot's spirit and resonating in the hearts of many. What shall rise from this new foundation, and how will God fulfill the promise he has woven through the ashes? For indeed, the moments of desolation might yet bear a glorious harvest, revealing that from the ruins of what was lost, something magnificent was destined to emerge. As the weeks unfolded, the air of Zor buzzed with excitement and newfound hope. The people, once wary of the cataclysm that had befallen Sodom, stood now at the threshold of an extraordinary revival. Lot, having embraced his role as a father, a witness, and a leader, felt a burgeoning responsibility stir within him. The sun cast its golden rays upon the land, illuminating the vibrant blossoms that had begun to adorn the earth like a heavenly tapestry. With each passing day, more souls journeyed to Zor, drawn not only by the whispers of restoration, but seeking the wisdom Lot and his daughters imparted. Lot gathered the people one day near the heart of the city, his voice steady and filled with conviction. "Hear me, brethren," he began, "for the Lord has not forsaken us. In our trials he has woven the fabric of a new beginning. Let us cultivate not only the land but our hearts, that we may be vessels for his grace." His eldest daughter, in an inspired moment, spoke boldly, "Let us build an altar here, a place of remembrance and dedication to the one who has delivered us. For he shall not only restore our land but shall also renew our spirits." The people murmured in agreement, and soon the site was bustling with activity. Stones were gathered, and with every rhythm of labor, the echoes of a new covenant rang clear. With the altar erected, offerings of thanks were laid before God, the incense rising like prayers of gratitude to the heavens above. As the sun dipped low, casting hues of crimson and gold across the sky, Lot knelt before the altar, seeking the Lord's guidance. The weight of responsibility pressed heavily upon him, and he yearned for assurance. "O Lord," he prayed, "lead us, guide us, that we may fulfill the promise given to our forefather Abraham." In response, a mist settled gently upon the ground, and the voice of the Lord came to Lot once more, rich with divine promise. "Fear not, for I shall multiply the seed of Abraham through you. From this land, your lineage shall be as the stars of the sky and the sands of the seashore." A tremor of awe passed through Lot's heart. With every word, he sensed the divine hand of God molding the fate of his descendants. Yet, unease flickered within him like a candle's flame in the wind. "But how shall it be, O Lord?" he queried. "For we are but few, lost amidst the ruins of the great cities." "Do not be afraid," the Lord reassured, "for I shall send forth my blessing as the rain returns to the earth. Just as I revived the land from its desolation, so shall I revive your lineage. The world shall see that from ashes shall arise life anew." With these cherished words etched into his heart, Lot understood that the promise was not merely about survival but of flourishing. The dates of harvest were to come, and he began recounting the stories of their forefathers, the promises, the covenants made with Noah, Abraham, and Isaac, connecting the past to a future glimmering with hope. Time passed, and as Lot shared these stories, the people rallied, unified in the vision of a rebirth. They found solace in truth and strength within shared memory. Yet, As they tended their fields and thrived in unity, a flicker of unease lingered in Lot's heart. He gazed once more upon the horizon, questioning the full scope of God's plan. What more shall you reveal, O Sovereign One? For in his heart, he sensed there was more, an unfolding mystery just beyond their grasp, and a deeper purpose to their deliverance from destruction. The question resonated solemnly among the people. What shall rise from the ashes in God's hand? And how shall the promise manifest through our endeavors? As day turned into night, a symphony of stars twinkled with expectation, heralding a divine narrative yet to be written. Lot awoke the next day with a stirring in his spirit, an urgency that drew him to the altar built in reverence to the Lord. As the sun rose, piercing the veil of night, he recalled the words spoken in the mist. From ashes shall arise life anew. What could this transformation entail? He pondered, entrusting his unanswered questions to the Almighty. The people of Zor, filled with a fervor ignited by their leader's passion and goddess promise, engaged in their daily tasks with zeal. Women gathered to weave and sew. Men labored in the fields, singing songs of thanksgiving and hope. But amidst their work, a collective anxiety nibbled at their spirits. The stories of Sodom and Gomorrah echoed in their minds, dark reminders of judgment that had once loomed over them. As Lot traversed through the lines of the fields, he gathered those around him to teach them of covenant and promise. In the recesses of his heart, he sensed that the God who had rescued them was stirring fresh movements among their hearts. Let us not forget, he urged, what we have witnessed. The Lord has shown his might, and in our obedience, he shall unveil his glory. As if in response to his words, a deep rumbling came from the horizon, unsettling the earth beneath their feet. Lot's heart quaked with unease. He raised his voice, "Fear not, O people, the Lord is amongst us. We must stand firm in faith." With courage buoyed by collective hope, the people of Zor looked to their leader. Yet, Lot's eyes were drawn far beyond the expanse of the agrarian landscape. A cloud formed in the distance, not dark and tempestuous, but radiant with an unusual light. He led the throng of onlookers up a hill to behold the sight. As they arrived at the top, awe swept across their faces. Before them, the cloud shimmered and began to descend. The land, once scorched, overflowed with the richness of life rejuvenated. Flowers that had not bloomed in generations spread like a tapestry across the once barren landscape of Sodom, a testimony of God's restoration. "Look, behold the work of the Lord," Lot exclaimed, his voice spilling with wonder. "He has not forsaken the land entirely. Where once the fires of wrath consumed, the waters of grace now refresh." The crowd murmured in amazement as living streams began to flow, cascading down the mountains towards the valley. Creatures long thought lost began to emerge, leaping in joy amongst the renewed landscape. The people could hardly contain their elation. It was as though hope had awakened from its slumber. In that sacred moment, a figure emerged from the luminous cloud, an angel of the Lord, radiant and commanding all attention. With a voice like thunder, he spoke to the multitude, "Prepare your hearts. The Lord's promise is unfolding. You are called not only to reclaim the land but to proclaim the glory of God's redemption to all nations." The weight of his words sank into the souls of those present, igniting their aspirations and dreams. Yet a flicker of doubt lingered within Lot. "What shall we tell them?" he murmured to himself. God's promise was vast, yet the challenge of proclaiming such overwhelming grace felt daunting. As the angel's words echoed, "For a light shall shine out of darkness, and the seas shall teem with life again," he prepared to respond. Could it be that their deliverance was just the beginning of a far greater mission? In this moment of divine revelation, a stillness enveloped the crowd, filling their hearts with newfound determination. The blossoming land bore witness to God's transformational power, yet deep within Lot's spirit rumbled a question: what further revelations did the Lord hold within his sovereign plan? Thus, with hope ignited and purpose renewed, the people rallied around Lot, eager to embrace the futures their Creator had laid out before them, a future ripe with promise, yet entwined with mystery. As the sun ascended, casting a golden glow over the renewed land. The people of Zoar assembled with intent. Lot stood before them, his heart racing with the import of the angel's words. "Beloved," he began, voice steady yet filled with emotion, "the Lord has not only delivered us from destruction, but transformed our reality. Can we not see that His mercies are new every morning? Shall we not share this miracle that He has wrought among us?" There was a murmur of agreement as hope kindled in their hearts. Families gathered close, eagerly anticipating the direction of their leader. Suddenly, a deep chorus echoed from the direction of the valley, voices raised in praise as the people rejoiced over God's promise fulfilled. Yet amidst the jubilation, the celestial messenger remained, still radiating with the light of the Most High. His presence was a reminder of the weighty call bestowed upon them. "You shall become a beacon," the angel proclaimed, his voice seemingly intertwined with the breath of the wind. "A city set upon a hill cannot be hidden. Your witness shall reach the farthest corners of the earth." Lot's mind raced as he contemplated the implications. How could they, mere vessels of redemption, carry such a monumental charge? "But how shall we commence this mission?" he asked, seeking clarity. The angel gazed upon him with an intensity that both comforted and unnerved him. "Fear not," the angel replied, "for the Lord your God shall go before you. He shall place His words upon your lips and lead you by His Spirit. In the days to come, the echoes of your testimony shall resonate beyond these hills, through both the villages of Canaan and to the nations yet unknown." As the weight of the angel's words settled, the crowd began to stir with purpose. Levites summoned their instruments, and the sound of lyres and flutes filled the air. Women lifted their voices in song, harmonizing with the joyful shouts of children. The essence of celebration wrapped around them like a garment. Yet within Lot, trepidation lingered. "Let us prepare an offering of gratitude," Lot proclaimed, sensing the need for a sacred act to accompany their newfound purpose. "For it is through our giving, through our worship, that we shall seek the face of our God." With hearts unified, the people began to gather fruits from the harvest, grains from the fields, and the firstborn of their flocks. They presented these to Lot, eyes sparkling with commitment. "Here we lay before the Lord what He has graciously given us," they declared, the fervor of their faith radiating palpable warmth among the assembly as they offered their gifts upon the altar. The earth quaked gently beneath them, as though responding to their collective praise. A fire ignited, and the fragrance of burnt offerings wafted toward the heavens, capturing the attention of the watchful angel. "Continue steadfastly in your praise," the messenger encouraged, "for the Lord desires a heart of worship even amid uncertainty. As you seek Him, you shall find His guidance illuminating your path." As the smoke ascended, mingling with their prayers, hope transformed into tangible expectation. Lot gazed at the hearts aflame around him and was touched by an awareness. They were more than a remnant. They were a testament of resurrection, a promise of life springing forth from ashes. Yet deep within, a new question gnawed at Lot's spirit. What trials awaited them as they stepped into the divine mission set before them? As the angel prepared to depart, he delivered one final message, a charge that would echo in Lot's mind like a drum resounding. "Prepare yourselves, for the journey shall reveal both wonders and challenges. Your endurance shall bear witness to the presence of the Lord." And so the people of Zoar prepared to set forth, courage gathering like the clouds above, yet an unexplainable unease lingered as serious trials loomed on the horizon. The fullness of God's plan remained shrouded, leaving their spirits poised on the edge of anticipation. What would unfold as they walked in faith? God's sovereign plan was unfolding, but what more awaited them in the divine tapestry He was weaving? As the people of Zoar gathered, ready to embark upon their divine mission, the sun began its descent, painting the sky with hues of crimson and gold. Yet, even as they prepared their hearts and spirits, an unshakable trepidation lingered among them, an awareness of the challenges that awaited. Lot, his spirit heavy with both hope and concern, turned to the assembly gathered around him. "Brothers and sisters," he addressed them, his voice earnest, "as we set forth, we must remember the fallen places and the scars left behind. Sodom and Gomorrah lie in ruin, marked by their disobedience. Of them, the Lord said, "Their sin is exceedingly great, and their cry has come up to me. Indeed, we must walk in holiness, forsaking the ways that led to their destruction, lest we too fall short of his glory." The words of Lot resonated deeply. Each soul grappled with the weight of these memories, families torn apart, lives dismantled by sin. They understood that they were now vessels of renewal, called to demonstrate the mercy and righteousness of the Lord. And with their hearts ignited in sincerity, they began to move as one body, their intention to glorify God in all they would undertake as they traveled into the wilderness. The landscape stretched before them, daunting yet beautiful, each step taken in faith, each breath a whisper of prayer. Lot felt a surge of resolve, confident in the angel's promise that God would guide their path. But, as the journey continued, the winds began to stir, carrying with them a hint of foreboding. "Hold fast to your faith," encouraged the eldest among them, a man named Eliezer, whose great experience earned him respect. "For just as the Lord has preserved us from destruction, so shall he uphold us through the trials ahead. Let us remind one another of his goodness, and in unity shall we persevere." With hearts fortified, the travelers pressed forward. As dusk settled like a blanket upon the earth, they halted, establishing a place to rest. In that sacred stillness, a spirit of prayer enveloped them. They interceded for the lands they had left behind, calling upon the mercies of the Lord to restore what was broken, to reconcile that which had been torn apart. Amid their cries ascended a deep yearning for redemption, not only for themselves but for all of humanity. In the midst of their prayers, the ground trembled again, not as in a quake of fear, but like the stirring of the Spirit. A light, brilliantly clear and shrouded with divine mystery, enveloped them, a familiar presence that recalled the angelic visitation. It radiated strength and peace, confirming to them that they were not alone. From within the luminescence emerged a voice, sweet yet authoritative. "Fear not, O people of Zor, for the Lord has heard your prayers. What you seek shall be revealed in due time. My plans for the cities of Sodom and Gomorrah unfold still, unseen by earthly eyes. A remnant shall rise, and a new creation will emerge from the ashes. Hold tightly to hope, for the day shall come when joy will replace mourning, and righteousness will prevail." Lot's heart leaped within him. A flicker of understanding ignited deeper than the promise. The once fallen cities would not be lost forever. Indeed, the tears shed over Sodom and Gomorrah would not be in vain, as God's purpose would unfold in miraculous ways yet to be revealed. And at that moment, the assembly was filled with renewed anticipation, a glimmer of divine mystery lying ahead. Whispers of courage danced on the air as they awaited the unfurling of God's sovereign plan. Would their legacy truly change the course of history for those cities? Or would they be mere witnesses in a grander narrative yet to be fully revealed? The journey was only beginning, and the shadows whispering of trials also spoke of hope, holding tightly to the promise that their God was with them. As the dawn broke, the people of Zor rose with renewed strength, their eyes lifted towards the heavens, where the sun emerged like a herald of hope. The golden rays bathed their camp in warmth, dispelling the chill of the night and igniting their spirits. Lot gathered the assembly once more, sensing the weight of divine purpose coursing through their midst. "Brothers and sisters," Lot proclaimed, "behold the day the Lord has made. Let our hearts be steadfast, for he has set before us a path that leads not only to our safety but to the restoration of the land we have mourned. Each step forward must echo with faith, for God is with us." The people nodded, their faces reflecting a resolve that seemed to shimmer in the light. They understood that every journey is a testament of faith and every trial, a preparation for what was to come. Lot's words hung in the air, a reminder of their divine calling, while Eliezer stepped forward, his voice carrying an ancient wisdom. "Let us not forget the heart of our mission. As we set our feet upon the soil that bears the scars of our brethren, let us pour forth the compassion that he has poured into us. For even the cities that fell under divine judgment are held in the hands of our Creator. His grace reaches even to the lost." As they traveled, the landscape began to shift, evidence of God's power evident in every unfolding scene. They passed through thickets of wildflowers that stretched forth like praises and heard the birds cease their morning songs, as if holding their breaths for the journey. Yet, in the midst of beauty, an air of solemnity clung to them. Lot, burdened by the weight of Sodomist memories, found solace in the mission that lay ahead each evening. Their prayers ascended like sweet incense unto the Lord, mingled with tears of intercession for those who remained shackled by sin. With each breath of supplication, they sought the healing that could only come from the one who restores the hearts of mankind. And in those sacred moments, they felt a stirring within an assurance that God was near. One night, as they gathered under a starlit sky, the same celestial bodies that witnessed the destruction were now a reminder of God's promises. Then, in a spectacular manifestation, the heavens opened. The voice they had heard before reverberated once more, resonating in their very bones. O faithful remnant, your cry has reached the throne of grace. The day shall come when the ashes of Sodom and Gomorrah shall witness a divine harvest. For a great turning is at hand, and from the ruins shall arise a people who will shout praises and cling to righteousness. Lot's heart danced within him, knowing this promise was for more than just the restoration of cities. It was a wake-up call for a people now weary from despair. The vision of children playing where sin once reigned and the laughter of families that had been divided began to take root in his spirit. Yet a deep mystery lay before them. How could fallen cities be raised again? As the assembly pondered the divine words, a fire ignited within their souls. The urgency of the task began to overshadow their fear. Eliezer spoke up, igniting the spark further. Indeed, let us prepare our hearts for the days of sowing. For a time shall come when we shall reap the fruits of our labor and witness the miracle of redemption. With that, they resumed their forward march, hearts beating as one in rhythmic anticipation of the Lord's promise fulfilled. Each step they took was more than a journey. It was an act of faith that would carve their place in God's unfolding narrative. The stories of Sodom and Gomorrah would not be used to condemn but to inspire future generations. Yet amidst their resolve, they sensed the shadows lurking always, whispering of the trials yet to come. What would be demanded of them in the days ahead? Would their faith stand the test when the path grew dim? And while the remnant's resolve shone bright, the echo of divine revelation hung in the air, waiting to unveil the manifold wisdom of God's sovereign plan, a plan intricately woven, that would forever change the heart of nations. As the sun climbed higher in the sky, illuminating the rugged terrain, the people of Zor found themselves now standing on the outskirts of the land of Sodom. Here, where destruction had reigned, the very air carried a weight of despair mingled with a glint of hope. Lot paused at the precipice, his heart gripped by conflicting emotions. Behold, he urged, pointing toward the land that lay before them, still scarred from the Lord's fiery judgment. This is both our heritage and our burden. Let not your hearts be troubled, for we embark on a holy mission to reclaim what was lost. Eliezer, standing steadfast beside Lot, nodded. We are called to be vessels of his grace, to bring forth life from the ashes. Just as the Lord called forth light from darkness in the beginning, so shall we implore him to do again in this desolate place. Empowered by those words, the assembly fell to their knees. Prayer rose like incense, hearts united in fervent supplication. Each voice lingered in the air, beseeching the Lord to awaken the spirit of revival among them. They sought his touch upon the land, yearning for restoration, healing, and a divine rebirth that would beckon forth new generations. While prayers ascended, a distant rumble echoed on the horizon. Lot's brow furrowed as he turned his gaze toward the sound. What is this? A storm may come, but let us not falter. His voice bore authority, an unwavering assurance that God's promises would stand true against any tempest. Suddenly, as the dark clouds shifted overhead, a brilliant light broke through, illuminating the landscape with a celestial glow. The assembly gasped in awe, witnessing a figure emerge from that divine radiance. It was the angel of the Lord, resplendent, carrying a message heavy yet hopeful. Fear not, O faithful remnant. The angel's voice rang out, calm and forthright. For I have come to declare that the time of reckoning has arrived. Your cries have touched the heart of the Almighty, and he is preparing a way for the remnants of Sodom. A way for what? Lot asked, his heart racing with anticipation and trepidation. To transform this wasteland into a gathering of his people. A new covenant shall be carved out of this ground, where the cries of desolation will turn to songs of joy. The former dwellers of sin shall be given a second chance to know the light of righteousness, the angel proclaimed. The assembly stood in disbelief for a moment, then hope surged within them. They were witnesses to a divine plan unfurling, a picture of grace interwoven with justice, foretelling a future where the name of Sodom would be spoken with reverence rather than contempt. Prepare yourselves, the angel commanded, for what shall arise from this desolate place shall lead many to the knowledge of their Creator. An army will emerge, filled with those who once walked in darkness, but who now shall stand in the radiance of his love. And as slowly as it had come, the light began to fade, yet the encouraging words of promise resounded in their hearts. Lot turned to the assembly, urgency painted over his features. Brothers and sisters, our journey is but beginning. We must labor fervently. We will sow seeds of grace, and we will witness his glory displayed in ways we cannot yet fathom. Yet a profound silence overcame them, as shadows began to dance once more in the back of their minds. What trials lay ahead? What sacrifices would be required? Would they remain steadfast amidst opposition from those who could not understand the change coming forth? This history of Sodom awaited a new chapter, and as they stepped forward, they felt the stirring of a purpose greater than themselves, a divine orchestration of destinies intertwined. The sovereignty of God beckoned to be unveiled, promising that even the mightiest stronghold would yield to the power of redemption. The assembly, ignited by hope and resolve, moved forward into an uncertain future, trusting in the unfolding revelation of what God was ready to accomplish. Indeed, from the very ground that cried despair, a song of redemption was being woven into the fabric of history. But lingering in the background, the question remained: how would the hearts of those in the land respond to the invitation of holiness? What would be required in the hearts transformed by grace? The answer lay within the unfolding of God's miraculous plan, a plan waiting to be fully revealed in his perfect timing. As the dawn light surged over the horizon, casting warm rays upon the scars of the once great cities of Sodom and Gomorrah, the faithful assembly stood at the precipice of purpose. The air was thick with the anticipation of change, the sweet smell of hope mingling with the reality of a past stained by sin. Lot, filled with renewed vigor, addressed his family and the gathering of faithful souls who had journeyed with him from the ashes. Beloved ones, he began, his heart an instrument of righteous fervor, we have been chosen to bear witness to what the Lord will accomplish in this land. The remnants of Sodom are not merely ruins. They are a testament to the power of divine mercy and restoration. Each step we take must honor this sacred calling to reclaim what was lost. With fervent eyes, Lot surveyed the rugged landscape before him, swallowed by memories of the destruction yet illuminated by the promise of new beginnings. Behind him, the people's expressions mirrored his determination, a collective heartbeat echoing the urgency of their mission. As they began their journey through the remnants, thoughts of their ancestors flooded Lot's heart. Abraham believed, and it was credited to him as righteousness, he murmured to himself. Consequently, he felt compelled to share this thought aloud. We are part of a rich legacy of faith, marked not by the shadows of despair but by the bright threads of divine promise. For from the ashes, we shall witness a people rise. Eager to lead this faith-filled charge, the travelers moved onward, establishing their march with each step resonating with sacred purpose. The ground beneath them, once stained with wickedness, now felt vibrant as if anticipating the revival to come. As they walked, the landscape began to shift, hues of green pierced through the remnants of charred earth. Springs of water bubbled up, glistening beneath the morning sun, reviving the memory of life. The songs of chirping birds filled the air, a melody of joy reverberating through the hearts of the faithful. Lot turned to his daughters, who walked closely beside him, and he saw the determination etched upon their young faces. What do you perceive as we tread through this land? He asked, longing for their insights. We see what was and what can be. His eldest daughter replied, her voice imbued with conviction. Where destruction lay as a heavy burden, we now see the higher calling to revive hope among the desolate. We shall tell the stories of what has transpired, and the grace we've received this will be our legacy. Just then, a low rumble echoed from the depths of the valley. The assembly paused, absorbing the palpable tension in the air. Lot's heart quickened, yet he felt the assurance of God's presence among them. As they gathered courage to delve deeper, shadows fell upon their minds, a reminder of the choices they had made and the call to purity in the path forward. "Do not fear," the wise Eliezer spoke up amidst the unease. "What was once a place of darkness is now set for revelation. Before we engage with those who remain in sin, let us ensure our hearts are aligned with his purpose." Upon his words, the assembly joined hands, forming a ring of unity. Lot led them in prayer, beseeching the Lord to cleanse their hearts, impassioning their spirits for the task ahead. Their cries echoed against the hills, a chorus of desperation and hope intertwining in prayer, seeking forgiveness for the past and commitment to a purified future. As their prayer ascended like sweet incense, a strange warmth enveloped them, and Lot's heart felt rejuvenated, a divine affirmation flickering within. "We stand not only as witnesses but as bearers of new life birthed from the old," he declared. "Let us go forth as beacons, guiding others toward the light we've found." With strong resolve, they pressed on, the lingering ruins of Sodom and Gomorrah a backdrop of both pain and profound possibility. As they drew closer to where some of the inhabitants still lingered, fear struck the hearts of many at the sight of those marked by sin. Yet, remembering the angel's words, they steadied their breaths, eyes focused ahead. "It is here, in these fragments of their lives, that we will testify of God's mercy," Lot said, rallying those around him. "Let us proclaim truth and restore the joy of the covenant, reminding them that redemption always awaits." But even as hope surged, questions surged in the silence. How would the broken respond to the grace being woven through their journey? Would they be met with disdain, or would the presence of God soften their hearts? And so they approached the threshold of Sodom, transformed from a city of desolation to one cloaked in the promise of reclamation. What awaited them was a mystery, as tensions danced on the edge of divine sovereignty, intertwining judgment and mercy. Would they emerge transformed as messengers of grace, or would they witness to the folly of hardened hearts? In the depths of it all, one truth remained: God's sovereign plan would be unveiled, and his love would seek to restore even the deepest of wounds. The true test lay in their willingness to be vessels of his hope amidst uncertainty, for their journey was only beginning, echoing the question that lingered in the hearts of many: what miraculous transformation will God bring forth in this land, as they embody the very essence of his redemptive love?